Alright guys, my name is Goblin, and today I'm going to be giving you a Priest PvE guide for Classic WoW. So it's important to note that this video will be relevant for every single phase of a game, so don't worry when you're watching this video, it is going to be useful to you. So this video will cover a number of topics: stat priority, pre-raid best in slot, enchants, consumables, talents, and lastly we'll talk about the healing playstyle. Just before jumping guys, please do give me a quick follow on Twitch. I stream over there most nights now. So let's jump in, let's start talking about stats. It's important to understand how stats work for the priest and how they benefit your character. So this is the stat priority as it stands. Healing / spell power, although healing power gear is probably going to be higher and more effective. Then it's spirit and MP5, then intellect, then spell crit, and then stamina. So most healers don't bother with spirit because spirit doesn't actually regenerate your mana while you're casting, but because of a meditation talent, spirit actually becomes useful for a priest, okay? This basically allows 15% of your mana regeneration to continue while in combat. Or not while in combat, while specifically while you are casting. This makes gearing priest, pretty straightforward because if the gear has spirit on it, then it's basically yours. You will have a higher priority on getting the spirit gear over different healers because other healers don't really need to bother with spirit. So let's break down this stat priority a little bit more. First of all, we'll begin with healing and spell power. So you want to prioritize this kind of gear because basically it increases the power of your healing spells, which means in the long run you'll be able to down rank your healing spells because the lower ranks do less healing, but because you got healing power stacked up, they will do more healing. So you might be able to do a lower rank heal, but heal the same amount as a higher rank heal. It will eventually get to the point where you're basically using low rank spells, and using your max rank spell will just be totally worthless because it's basically going to be too powerful, and it will basically overheal who you're trying to heal, and you will basically waste healing because you will be doing overhealing. And obviously, basically, you're going to be using lower ranks, and this saves mana. It saves a massive amount of mana because the lower ranks obviously cost less mana. Then you want to be stacking gear with MP5 as a priority. MP5 will be more effective than spirit, but like I said before, you will probably end up with the spirit gear over the MP5 gear because other healers need MP5 more than you do. Nonetheless, when gear has spirit and MP5, it's an absolute godsend, and it's important to note that with the tier 2 set piece bonus, with 3 pieces, you get basically double the meditation talent because it's like an extra 15% mana regeneration while casting, so your spirit becomes even more effective at that point. As always guys, with my PvE guides I have a big nuts and bolt lists. Basically it will cover your pre-raid best in slot, your enchants, consumables and your talent all in one big Google Drive spreadsheet. So as you can see here, all the pre-raid best in slot gear is here, and as the game progresses, Die More comes out and more loot starts dropping from bosses, you will notice that there's extra gear pieces that you can pick up. So no matter when you're watching this guide, it is going to be relevant to you. The one thing I do want to draw your attention to is Abjura's HUD gear. So if we look at this quickly, it's basically random enchantment gear. It's RNG gear, so when you find it, well, I'm pretty sure it's not crafted, yeah, so when it drops it has a chance to have, I think, plus 44 healing power if you look at the stats here. So plus 46 or 48 healing power. So you can stack a few of these pieces. I think you can stack them not just on the head, there's a few pieces of the Abjura's HUD gear. I'd recommend looking it up because you can get a really good boost to your healing power gear. I haven't put them all down on the pre-raid best in slot gear, but it's just something to bear in mind. You can probably very easily find that kind of gear on the auction house and buy it, just kind of fill in the pieces while you're farming your proper best in slot dungeon pre-raid gear, because obviously the downside of having the healing power gear is that it only has healing power, and you obviously need your MP5, you need your spirit, and you need your intellect as well. So if you stack too much of that gear, you're going to be gimped on mana regen and your total mana pool. So that's something to bear in mind. Here we have all the enchants, and obviously if you go further along, more enchants come out with Zul'Gurub and stuff like that, so that's all jotted down there. And we also have consumables, all the things to regenerate your mana, your flask, obviously really expensive, but they're there nonetheless. Elixirs, food, alcohol, even weapon oils, because there is actually oils for healers which are pretty useful. Some extra world stuff, and some really good defensive bonuses which are probably going to be useful for specific boss mechanics within raids, for instance surviving flame breath from Elixir, stuff like that. Anyway, then obviously we have the talents here for reference, but I'm going to go into Classic Database and talk about the talents now in a little bit more detail. So this is the standard holy build that most people are going to go for. You've got another option also to go for the power infusion build. I'll talk about that, you know, straight after this one. So the whole premise, the whole principle of specking, you know, doing your talents, is you spec into holy to maximize your healing, you know, stuff like that. Pretty straightforward, raw extra healing. And then you spec into discipline slightly to increase your mana efficiency with talents like divine spirit, meditation, obviously very essential talent, otherwise your spirit is completely useless, and mental agility as well, just reduced mana cost. You can sacrifice this point in Spirit of Redemption. I feel like Spirit Redemption is a really good was a really good like fail-safe talent for when you're progressing on bosses, you're struggling with the content, because after you die you obviously get to heal for an extra 10 seconds. You know the Spirit of Redemption is a very iconic image in World of Warcraft. And then you can get rid of this point and, you know, put it into spiritual guidance if you feel like confident in the content that you're clearing, you don't die a lot, you're speedrunning and all that kind of thing. You can sacrifice that point. So secondly, we have the power infusion build. With this build we spec less into holy and more into discipline. The reason why we do this is for the talent power infusion. So let's read this. Infuses the target with power, increasing their spell damage and healing by 20%, lasting 15 seconds. So that's an extremely powerful DPS cooldown to put onto a mage or a warlock, but it'll probably more likely be a mage rather than a warlock, because warlocks do have issues with threat. So what we're doing with this build is you only really spec into this build when you're getting more and more gear, you're getting more powerful, and then you just basically need the deeper holy talents less because you're higher geared and your healing is, you know, it's pretty sound, it's pretty Bob's your uncle, and you're able to keep people alive with less holy talents. So you sacrifice your personal healing to increase the overall raid DPS. You know, when all the priests get more geared, they will probably spec over to power infusion and start using power fusion intelligently on the mages or whoever the hell is the highest DPS, whoever the raid leader commands it to be used on, and this can massively increase the raid DPS, particularly when you pop this on the mage who is using the ignite exploit, the ignite tick exploit with pyroblast and combustion and all that kind of stuff. So yeah. So let's start talking about the healing playstyle. Your healing playstyle is going to depend actually on what faction you play. So if you're playing Alliance, you will probably be the designated raid healer. So when you're playing a healer, your raid leader is going to tell you, right, I want you to heal the tanks, I want you to heal a melee group, I want you to heal, you know, the range group, or I want you to heal the other healers. You know, that's kind of like the system that's put in place. For instance, Shaman are normally given the role of healing the melee group because you have chain heal. You know, you have really easy, cheap and inexpensive AoE heal. Whereas like a priest, you're more likely on the Alliance side to just be the general raid healer. You're going to be topping people up. You probably won't be the tank healer because Paladins are much better single target healers, so Paladins are probably going to be the tank healers, but nonetheless you may be asked to put a renew on to the tank in response to reactive damage, like to in a way to like anticipate damage, like high damage appearing on the tank, or a really high dot damage on the tank, something like that. You may be asked to put a hot, which is, you know, renew onto the tank. But most of the time you are going to just be healing reactively. You might be given a certain amount of groups that you have to heal, and a lot of the time you're going to be using flash heal rather than greater heal. And obviously, just before I carry on, obviously if you're playing Horde, you're more likely to actually become the designated tank healer, because there isn't like a number one tank healer on the Horde side, so it can really be any healer, and therefore you may be asked to, you know, heal the tank. Most of the time you are just going to be actually using flash heal just to kind of top up the random members in the raid group rather than actually healing the tank. But if you're healing the tank, again, you probably are going to be using flash heal. The reason why you use flash heal is because obviously of the reduced cast time. Greater heal has a really fast cast time. By the time you may get that heal off, someone else might have healed him, which is really important which is why it's really important to designate like certain groups for every healer, so that people don't overheal each other and steal each other's heals, because that's obviously a massive waste of mana. That's kind of like the playstyle of vanilla, is you want to be as mana efficient as possible. If you're wasting a heal because it was a total overheal, then you're really wasting mana, and stuff like that is actually important. But most of the time you are going to be using flash heal just because it's faster and it's safer to use. Obviously it's like, it will actually cost less mana as well, so, and obviously when you stack up your healing power gear, you'll be able to use lower ranks of it. But normally flash heal is going to be used most of the time. Greater heal, it's more of a heal. You can use it for raid healing, but it is more of a tank heal, and to be honest, you're only probably going to start to use Grey to heal when the tank starts stacking up a really big health pool. So we're currently playing in phase 1. We'll probably have to wait a few more phases on before Grey to heal becomes really, really useful, because, you know, well, tanks just don't have really big mana pools, and honestly, you know, Molten Core and Onyxia are pretty easy raids. Blackwing Lair, Naxxramas, Anchorage are a little bit harder raids. That's when Grey to heal starts to see a little bit more playstyle. When it comes to AoE healing, it's very rare you're going to be asked to do AoE healing. A simple fact for that is your AoE healing spells, they only actually heal. I've got a wrong rank of Holy over there, let's fix that quickly. So AoE heals only heal people in your party, and your raid setups are normally going to be set up to optimize raid DPS. So the melee group are more likely to take like AoE damage, but they're going to be stacked with, for instance, maybe like a shaman for the totems that obviously shamans can provide for the melee group, and other kind of melee buffs will be stacked with a hunter for true shot aura and stuff like that. It's very unlikely that a priest is going to get put into a melee group for the sake of healing. The priest will more likely be in a range group or another healer group to, you know, benefit from Mana Tide Totem or something like that. So raid healing is rare. There are certain, I imagine there are going to be certain raid mechanics that really demand AoE healing, and, you know, a raid leader will call out for that, a good raid leader anyway. There will be situations where, fair enough, AoE healing will be useful in very stacked situations where a raid needs to stack together. One last note, actually, obviously I nearly forgot this. Dispelling is extremely important, and I mean extremely important. In a number of situations it's even more important than healing, so always be on top of your dispels. That's what really separates you from an average healer, is actually being able to do dispels very quickly and reactively, because you have no idea how frustrating it is for a tank or DPS for just, you know, to be in a hex or some stupid debuff that is, like, you know, preventing you to have actual control of your character. So, you know, a good healer who dispels quickly is really going to make you stand out from other healers, so that would be my general recommendation as well. But anyway guys, my name is Metagoblin, and until my next video, ciao.